Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly. Chesapeake's topography is low and flat, and we're right on the water, so it should come as no surprise to anyone that flooding is a common occurrence. But what does it mean when we here at the city talk about stormwater? Assistant City Engineer Crystal Bloom explains.
It is water from a storm, so it can include anything falling from the sky as far as precipitation, rainfall, snow, hail and sleet. So once it does reach the ground, it typically has two ways of traveling. Either will soak back into the ground or will hit a hard surface like a rooftop or paved area and continue running off. And so it's that collection of runoff is what generates our stormwater. We like to define stormwater management as handling that excess runoff in a way that minimizes flooding and then also prevents water quality degradation. So typically we achieve stormwater management through three ways. We have flood protection projects to improve the system. We have water quality projects to help improve ultimately the water that's leaving our systems. And then the third main component is just the maintenance, preventative maintenance cycle, and making sure that we keep our existing infrastructure open and clear. So the City of Chesapeake has three different main types of stormwater conveyance systems. The first one being open ditches. Those are generally a little harder to maintain than others because they are open. They're more prone to collecting debris and trash. Vegetation is also sometimes an issue that we have to keep watch on. There's a little over 1,000 miles of open ditches within the City of Chesapeake that we maintain that are public. And there's three types of ditches. We have roadside ditches that are parallel to the road that are the primary collectors of the stormwater coming off the pavement. Eventually those all collect to a single outfall point that will be a ditch that turns off the road, known as a lead or outfall ditch, which is generally a little larger than roadside ditches. And then the lead outfall ditches will eventually outfall into a natural channel or a master drainage facility, which is typically like a finger to the river. So the second type of conveyance system we have is our underground storm piping. So the City of Chesapeake has a little over 600 miles of that type of piping that's public that we maintain. Those are generally easier to maintain because they are a closed system. However, it's sometimes harder to identify problems because it is underground and you can't see it. Best management practices, or also known as BMPs, are the third type of stormwater conveyance system we have in the city. Those work to store water to have a slow release, so more water comes in than what's coming out, and that helps us slow down what's moving downstream to minimize and reduce flooding impacts. The good thing with BMPs is they also provide a water quality treatment component, so they help collect that debris and trash and help with sediment deposition and collect nutrients, so we have cleaner water moving on downstream.
That video is one of a series that we'll be doing all about stormwater. Crystal will also share with us the stormwater-related challenges we deal with specifically here in Chesapeake, as well as how stormwater projects get off the ground. And you can take a closer look at the current stormwater capital projects, which are listed on the active projects page at cityofchesapeake.net/publicworks. Wellness Wednesdays are back for their second event of the year. You might remember that this program through Chesapeake Regional Healthcare works to break down barriers to access better health. And while it used to be geared only towards women, this year they've expanded it to also be for men. Here's more.
When we did the vaccinations, we did over 2,000 vaccinations through African American pastors in South Norfolk. And they came to us with an opportunity to share in Wellness Wednesday here at the church. I opened the doors because oftentimes the resources that are needed in this community are not tangible. And this was a way for us to put all of the resources in one place at one time for the people of this community in South Norfolk to be able to receive them.
We felt that by joining hands with the church that we could service more people and get more people to come into the events. We've had a great response from the gentlemen in the community, lots of families coming together. So in 2021, we had Women's Wellness Wednesday, and we focused on the women in South Norfolk. It was so successful that in 2022, we have expanded to Wellness Wednesday so that we can service men as well as women. And we also have more groups and organizations joining us. We have about 50 groups here today.
The next event is Wednesday, June 1st at First Baptist Church in South Hill. 3633 Galberry Road from noon to 5. It's free and well worth your time. There will be over 40 organizations present to help you make sure that you have everything you need when it comes to your health and wellness. And learn more at ChesapeakeRegional.com/wellness-Wednesdays. Well, mosquito season is officially here, so you may very well be noticing an increase in those little buggers, particularly after all the rain we had earlier this month. Mosquito Control Director Lisa Wagenbrenner gave us the rundown of what she and her crews are up to this time of year.
So we basically started the season in early spring, pre-treating water for immature mosquitoes, and then about mid-May we started sending out the ULV truck spraying. Now that is driven by our trap count. So we have thresholds that are met, and once they're met, then we will send the trucks out to that particular area. What we have seen recently is an increase in those container breeders, those ankle biters, driving everybody crazy. So yeah, my note to citizens is please tip and toss. We can't get to everybody's backyard, and the truck spraying is ineffective against those particular species. Truck spraying is designed to get mosquitoes that are on the wing, or what we call flying mosquitoes. The ankle biter, those Asian tiger mosquitoes, are kind of lazy mosquitoes. They hang out in the bushes, you know, until we come outside and they can smell us. They smell our carbon dioxide that we're exhaling out. So when we're driving around in our trucks at night, they're just hunkering down, just waiting for us to come outside during the day when we're active.
So remember, tip and toss. Get rid of all that extra standing water in your backyard. And if you think you need a visit from Mosquito Control, just give them a call at 757-966-5158 or visit them at cityofchesapeake.net/mosquito. Well, mosquitoes are an absolute drag when it comes to those backyard barbecues, but you know what? So are grill-related injuries. So as we jump into grilling season, take a moment to brush up on some important grill safety tips from the Chesapeake Fire Department.
All right, good morning. We're over here at Chesapeake Fire Station number 5 in Great Bridge, and we're talking grill safety this morning. So we've got a setup here of a few different kinds of grills. We've got one that uses your standard propane bottle. This model right here has an actual natural gas connection that connects right to a natural gas outlet on the house, and then your standard charcoal grill over here on this side. And what we want to talk with grill safety is almost a before, during, and an after type thing. So before we grill, we want to make sure that our grills are clean. And we want to look at these. As you take a look here, you can see these grates are nice and clean here. I mean, you're going to have some grease and residual on there, but below the grates, we also want to make sure is nice and clean. So you can see this grill hasn't been used in a while, but there's no grease and heavy buildup on there. That's going to prevent any kind of flare-ups or any kind of grease fires that we might have. At the beginning of the season especially, it's very important to kind of do a check on our hoses and connections. So this isn't something you'd have to do every time, but at least at the beginning of the season, this is just a water bottle that's got some liquid dish detergent and water in it. So if I were to do something like this, and this were hooked up, I would just spray these connections just like this with this soapy water mixture and the connection that's on here. And then I'd turn that on. If I had any bubbles coming out of there, I would know that I either had some pinholes maybe in my hose, or I had some kind of a loose connection, and I want to get that resolved before I use these grills. It's important that I highlight the difference between a flare-up and a grease fire. A grease fire is when your actual grill and the area underneath are actually on fire. And a lot of times, many of us have probably seen that when we walk outside and we leave our grill unattended for some reason. We walk outside and there's just black, heavy smoke pouring out from the bottom of it. We want to obviously avoid that at any cost. But if that happens, that's where our fire extinguisher comes in handy. So always make sure you got a fire extinguisher handy, ready to go. And if you do have one of those grill fires like that, a grease fire, standard practice just like in an oven, all right? We're going to close this cover safely if we can. You may have to go to the back side and push it closed. We're going to turn our burners off, call 911, get the fire department on the way, and then get your fire extinguisher ready to go, just in case you do have to fight that fire. So, but we want to avoid a grease fire. So one way to do that is obviously cleaning. The second way is making sure that you don't leave your grill unattended. You're much more likely to catch those flare-ups before they turn into a grease fire if you're actually outside maintaining the grill. Avoid wearing any kind of loose clothing that may catch fire. When we talk about distance, be aware of any awnings that are hanging over. Be aware of any low-lying tree limbs, deck rails, things like that. You don't want this grill up against anything that is combustible that may catch on fire. The reason for that is If you do have a grease fire, that's going to also catch on fire. That's going to extend into your house or into your trees, and you're going to have a big problem on your hands you're going to need the fire department to help deal with. So the last thing that we're going to cover is charcoal grills. And these are things that people think don't really have a lot of hazards because it's not a large fire load. It's not a big fire. It's, slow and low is how we cook with that. But charcoal briquettes can be very dangerous for a few different reasons. And the number one reason to that is that they have the potential of for lighter fluids, how you light those. So once it's lit with that lighter fluid, you never add more lighter fluid to an existing fire. You're going to get a flare up, you're going to get that fire going. So avoid doing that at all costs. Follow the manufacturer's instructions, put the appropriate amount on there, light it, and leave it alone. The next thing we want to make sure is when we dispose of those charcoal briquettes, and you can see I've got a metal ash can here. And the sole purpose of this is simply to put the charcoal briquettes, when they've reached a good temperature, into there and let them sit. All right, so let your charcoal briquettes cool down, put them into this ash can. That'll allow you to safely add water to it, and then you can dispose of them appropriately. And that kind of covers our grill safety that for the month of May as we kind of start getting back into grilling season. And if you have any questions about any of these things, you can certainly call your fire prevention office. And the last thing that's worth mentioning is, as a general rule, there is prohibited cooking under tents or canopies or on exterior balconies. There are some exceptions to that. You'll need to contact your local fire marshal's office to find out what those restrictions are and what those exceptions are.
Now, if grilling is on your to-do list for next Monday, Memorial Day, don't forget to remember what the day is all about by taking the time to honor those who have died serving our country. Join the Mayor's Commission on Veterans Affairs at their annual Memorial Day ceremony on Monday, May 30th at 11 a.m. right in front of City Hall. And a reminder that all city offices, courts, and community centers will be closed on Monday, May 30th. The Chesapeake Visitor Center and Parks, Rec, and Tourism's office will be open from 10 to 4. All Chesapeake Public Libraries will close on Sunday, May 29th and Monday, May 30th. Well, that's all we've got for you this week. We leave you now with what Parks and Rec has going on. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely holiday weekend, and we'll see you again next week.